bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
The human issue, or is it the money issue? This is a big issue, no matter how you slice it up, not only across the country, but especially here in New Jersey. We're talking about family leave. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Joe Bisicchia. This is Comcast Newsmakers. He is Jon Shure. Mr. Shure is the president of the New Jersey Policy Perspective, a liberal think tank in the great Garden State. We're going to talk about the family leave issue that's being debated and has been debated in our legislature. Good to see you.
Good to be here, Joe.
Ultimately, when I said it's the human issue, the argument for it is, you know what? Doesn't it make sense? Our employees are going to need to have their families, a quality of life, being able to be there for the birth, be there for a sickness. Is it the human way to go, you think?
I think it's a defining issue about whether this state will help people balance the obligations of work and family, which is increasingly difficult to do in today's economy. So yes, I think it's a very human issue. People can't do it by themselves. They need help from their employers. They need help from the government to create a system that everybody can win from.
But what about the business side? Of course, the business side has been loud on this, saying, you know what, you're putting so much strain on our existence as it is with all taxes, this, that, and the other. This is going to strain us in our employer power.
Well, I tell some of our business friends to just calm down a little bit because this really isn't going to change things very much. You know, they have family leave insurance today in California, and about 1% of the workers take it per year because, let's face it, luckily most of us during the course of a year don't have to take care of a sick child or a sick parent or spouse to the extent where we need to take time off from work like that. So really what it's going to do is allow people to have some peace of mind and to replace some of their income. When they take this time off, they'll get 2/3 of their pay, up to $524 a week. But I think it's important to point out that money will come from a fund paid into only by employees, not by employers. So it's basically people buying insurance for themselves for the day if it should come when they need it.
Now, some folks out there may have been just ready to think, okay, to zone this out, this is not going to affect me, I'm not going to have a baby, I'm okay. The reality is it does affect them because they're going to have to pay. Okay, so there's going to be a payment from every one of us in New Jersey. What about that side?
Well, the good news is the payment is going to average less than $1 a week for each of us taken out of our paycheck to create the family insurance fund, which goes along with the already existing temporary disability insurance fund that we have in New Jersey. There are safeguards. You have to prove that this absence is necessary. It's not just you can call up today and say I'm taking 6 weeks off starting tomorrow. You know, we had some business people tell us, well, we're afraid that in South Jersey people will take off for the deer hunting season. It doesn't work that way. It's been thought out more carefully than that.
Are we doing enough in our state, of course, on the human side, to look out for what is important? As the governor has said, you know, he has said this in the speech, I'm a bleeding heart, because he went through this.
That's right.
Everyone knows what happened to the governor, and that was almost a springboard for him to be on board with this issue. But are we doing enough for the business community in this state to make sure it thrives across the board?
Well, we need to do more for the economy of the state in general. There's no question about that. But a lot of small business owners we know who support family leave insurance say, you know, it's going to make my workers more productive because they'll have peace of mind. When their mind is on their family, they can take the time off and get some of their pay so they can still pay their bills. And, you know, there's a lot of really great employers in New Jersey, and a lot of them work these things out with their workers anyway. But 40% of the low-income workers in New Jersey work for somebody who doesn't give them paid vacation or sick time. So for those people, this is a real necessity at a time when they have to take that time off to take care of a sick family member. They're stuck.
Some folks will say, why can't we do things the way it's done in Europe? It seems like they have all these long vacations, this, that, and the other. And then those folks in Europe are going to say, because we've heard it, wait a minute, America does it right because they're getting things done. How do you find the fine balance in terms of a good economy?
The U.S. is just about the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't give people time off to take care of family leave, family emergencies with pay. So this is a case where maybe we ought to be a little more like the people on the other side of the ocean. Maybe not that's not true in everything, but we really need to make sure that workers can get the peace of mind. This is all about husbands and wives, sons and daughters, mothers and fathers taking care of sick family members.
Jon, it's always great having you in here with your perspective.
Thank you.
He is Jon Shure. He's the president of the New Jersey Policy Perspective, and that is a liberal think tank in the great Garden State. I'm Joe Bisicchia, and this has been Comcast Newsmakers, seen exclusively here on Comcast Cable. For more information, check us out on the web, cn8.tv.
bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Minimum wage. How big is this issue in the Garden State? Hello, I want to thank you for joining us. I'm Joe Bisicchia. This is Comcast Newsmakers. He is Jon Shure, president of the New Jersey Policy Perspective, a liberal think tank in New Jersey. We're going to talk about, well, that financial minimum that you're going to make when you work. You know, it's not easy to work minimum wage. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
Many of us have done it. I'm sure you haven't, and I've done it. And, you know, we work all day, and you start thinking, whoa, it's not much in there. But at what point does it become a strain to an economy if we raise it at what point? So what's the fine line?
Well, the line is that it's too low right now. You know, if you work 40 hours a week in New Jersey today at the minimum wage, you make $14,872 a year. You can't live on that in New Jersey. You probably can't live on twice that in New Jersey. So the good news is that a state commission that was created the last time the minimum wage was increased has recommended two things: that we ought to raise the wage to $8.25 an hour, and even more important, that we ought to have an automatic provision that it goes up every year to stay with the cost of living. Now, that makes it an economic decision instead of a political decision. It means you don't have to go begging the legislature every few years to restore your lost purchasing power.
So many issues to talk about here with this. First of all, the cost of living in our state's getting tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. And maybe it's not comparable to think of us in Alabama and Mississippi, because up here, things are much more money. So do we have to look at our issues differently than other states would?
Well, you really do. What you make in New Jersey compared to the rest of the country really doesn't matter. What matters is what do you make in New Jersey compared to what you need to live in New Jersey. And you're right, the cost of living in New Jersey is a third higher than the national average. Housing costs even higher than that. So when we take a look at that and we say, you really can't build a future and support a family on $7.15 an hour, which is what the minimum wage is in the state today. There are 10 states with a higher minimum wage than New Jersey's today. The federal minimum wage is going to go up to $7.25, which would make it higher. And I'm telling you, New Jersey ought never to have a lower minimum wage than the federal minimum wage.
So much to sink our teeth in this interview, because some folks are going to say, well, wait a minute, raise a family on minimum wage. Wish we didn't have to have that happen. Shouldn't that be some of our teenagers that are maybe scooping ice cream?
Yeah.
Now, if it is those folks, our teenagers, we'd love to see them make more money because maybe they'll spend it. But it's going to cost us much more now to buy that cone of ice cream, isn't it?
Well, you make some good points. Yes, it probably will. A little bit. It always does, no matter what. But, you know, if you are making a profit as a business person because you're paying people too little to live, that's not a great way to run a business. Most people making minimum wage are not teenagers. They're older than that. They're supporting a family. And even the teenagers, you say, well, they're not supporting themselves. Well, they're helping their families support them. So a higher wage helps their families to support them. It's good for the economy because, again, you know, low-wage workers, when they get a raise, they don't go put it in a Cayman Island bank account. They spend it. They spend it right here in New Jersey. So it's something, you talk about stimulus packages these days. This would stimulate the economy, but more important, it's fair. It makes it so people can afford to live in New Jersey, and that's what we need.
When you make your arguments, and it's obviously where you're standing on this regard, how do you make sure that you could try your best to get business on your side? They're not the bad guy or bad gal. You want to see them thrive in the state because they're... Well, there's the cash cow for jobs anyway. So how do you make it a win-win for them as well?
Well, you try to strike the right balance. I mean, all the studies in the past have shown that when you do raise the minimum wage, it doesn't hurt business. Yes, they might have to raise their prices a little bit, like they have to raise them every year because other expenses go up, cost of energy, this and that. But, you know, the flip side of that is you can't have businesses if you don't have working people. And if they're not treated with respect and dignity and don't have purchasing power, then what good is it going to do? So you're right. You have to strike that balance. And oftentimes we need government as a sort of a referee to come in and help to strike that balance.
Final moments here to recap. We're looking at raising the minimum wage and keeping a mechanism there to, instead of having to cry for it each year. But at what point is there a breaking point where, you know, we keep raising it and the prices keep going up? We keep raising it and the prices keep, or is it non-ending?
There might be a point somewhere, Joe, but it's not $8.25 an hour, and it's sure not $7.15 an hour.
Right now, this will be debated in the legislature. So
we're looking for a lot of action this year and a pretty controversial issue.
Okay, and you'll be at the table with it. Always welcome the Comcast Newsmakers to get your side. Good to have you here.
Pleasure.
This hour's newsmaker, he's Jon Shure. He's the president of the New Jersey Policy Perspective. What is that? Well, that's a liberal think tank in New Jersey. I'm Joe Bisicchia, and this has been Comcast Newsmakers, which is seen exclusively here on Comcast Cable. For more information, you can check us out on the web, cn8.tv.